I remember as a young man, I was naturally interested in all kinds of machines, any mechanisms. I think I gave you a bit of my personal history before. Of course, guns were the most interesting to me, and I definitely remember being desperately interested in German rifles. There was just something in my mind that the German rifles were fantastic. And of course, I read about British rifles, but every time I looked at a catalog or could even see one, catalog that is, the prices were just out of the world, out of this world for Rigby's and Wesley Richards or anything like that. But the German rifles were within reach. So then, gradually one gets older, learns more, and I could afford uh, some rifles, and naturally, some of the first rifles I owned were Mausers, and I thought I should make a video about German sporters, just because it's sort of a random video, but I have a few nice sporters on the table, and it's kind of part of my personal heritage. So yeah, we'll just go ahead with it. This could have been made by anybody. Franconia made these, Kettner made these. Some of them had tank safeties. There were so many Mauser rifles around after the war. There was just no end to Mausers. And of course, they lent themselves very well to customization. The Mauser is a fantastic hunting rifle action. This one has all the features that you would look for. It has the tank safety and a decent steel floor plate. And, there were many different factories that made Mausers. There were Santa Barbara Mausers made in Spain later on. But a lot of them were, former military rifles that were sporterized. And I think some of that still goes on to this day. And I know there are a lot of people that want a custom rifle. They get some very decent bottom metal, and they use a Mauser action, which is completely understandable because it's an excellent action. So I probably had something like this pretty early on. I'll turn it around. The wood is not earth-shattering. I remember being impressed always by the accuracy, and at that time, the rifles came like this one with decent sights. So I was very happy with them because I could just pick them up and they would be useful. Now, of course, it's not always the case. Anyway, if you had a little more money, I'm now talking. Let's say I'm assuming in the 50s and in the 60s, definitely in the 70s and 80s, you could get a fancier Mauser, and I think this still is a superb rifle. Now you can see that they've gone to a huge scope with these amazing turret mounts. The mounts themselves were so ingenious. This is a 3-to-12 Zeiss scope, great big scope. The rifle becomes far more dynamic, of course, without the scope, and beautifully stocked. And the forend is not too long. It's got some decent checkering, skip line checkering. And this is made by Dynamit Nobel. I'm not sure exactly. I'm assuming Nobel of dynamite fame, and they manufactured in Germany, of course. And this is. I would assume it's a wartime action just by the feel of the steel, and it's been given a decent bolt handle. Double set triggers were very common. Actually, I had quite a few of the run-of-the-mill Mausers, like I just showed you, that had double set triggers, and these invariably, if you did your part, I was going to say probably shot minute of angle, but that's a fairly recent phenomenon, that minute of angle thing. I mostly was interested in, does it hit mostly what you shoot at say at 100 yards, 100 meters. If you can hit a pie plate at 200, you're doing well. With a scope, it's a cinch to hit a lot further than that. But primarily, I was, not a target shooter. I was a hunter, and still am. Anyhow, this is an example of definitely an upscale rifle. I'll flip it around. There's really, if you went to buy something like this today, I have no idea what they would charge for something or who would even make them, but I know that if you try to get a Mauser Sporter from Rigby or those outfits, it's in the thousands. These are still fantastic buys, and as usual, the bore is excellent. Oh, the caliber of that first one, people ask me, that's a 30-06, and this is 7x64, which is a lot like a 280 Remington. You may know that already. So anyway, then gradually, I guess the market wanted different guns, and I'm painting with broad strokes here. There were so many unique guns that came out of Germany and Austria. One of the most unique, though, was the Mauser 66. We've looked at this before. I mean, this action, I'm still amazed by it. You can see the kind of the Mauser heritage, but the action is so short because it's telescopic and it has the double set triggers, blind magazine because you feed it from the top, and no need to go into all the details because I think I've made 2 or 3 videos on these, but a fantastically elegant rifle and many different versions. In fact, this one is a carbine in 30-06, but I have a full-size rifle also in 30-06 with a much longer barrel, and then I have a 458. So there was no limit to the strength of the action, and why would there be? It has the double locking lugs as any other Mauser. Anyhow, very, very unique action that sort of, I think, has a special place in firearms history. Then came the Sauers, the amazing bolt that has no visible locking lugs because they retract into the bolt body, and these are the locking lugs back here. I made at least one video on these. This is actually a Carl Gustaf, but same. It's made in Germany and then sold, I think, in Sweden, or used to be. Anyhow, as you turn the bolt, the locking lugs come out of the bolt. I don't think there was ever a more carefully made rifle than the Sauer 80 and 90. And, if you have time, you can just Google German arms manufacturers. Has removable magazine, beautifully made. Anyway, I don't want to, go on forever, but if you can get a hold of a Sauer 80 or Sauer 90 or one of these Carl Gustafs, because a lot of people don't know maybe that this is a Sauer 80, and so they're priced a little lower, but people are pretty quick studies and figure it out. Anyhow, and then leap ahead a couple of decades, and that it was actually this Blaser. Oh, and Blaser had some really interesting rifles before the R93 and the R8. I think we reviewed those as well. They had turn bolts, but they had different, types of actions, trying to get the action smaller. And then their engineers came up with this remarkable system with the collet locking, different names. This is the R8. The R93, of course, was earlier and didn't have the system where the whole trigger guard and magazine come out of the gun. I mean, it's completely safe. Anyway, that's quite an evolution, and I thought that's worth sharing with you. So, you can go out and spend $4 or $5 grand on this rifle, which is a mechanical wonder. I should have shown you the scope mounts there, but you can Google that as well. And it's accurate. You can switch barrels. It's cool. In fact, I know I made a video. I have one of these in 500 Jeffrey, which is really something else. Anyhow, that's sort of the modern sporter, but you can still get Mausers if you want, or you can get one of these. And you know, everybody has their opinions, which is a good thing. But I think this is some kind of interesting comparison. You know, if you look carefully at what's what and what's the better value and so forth, maybe you'll come up with an answer. Anyway, this one actually still has all the military style screws, which doesn't take anything away from the rifle. This is just a fantastic rifle, and so is the R8. Yeah, you can't argue. I was talking to a fellow from Germany, and he said they're selling hundreds of thousands of these, and no slowdown in sales. And there are many other straight pull manufacturers. Anyhow, I hope that's interesting for you, and we'll get back to making more videos. In the meantime, please take care and good shooting. Bye for now.